Unless you have been living under a rock, you probably all know about the Sydney mass stabbing at a Bondi Junction shopping centre where 7 people were killed, including the perpetrator. It made the world news. CNN, 6 dead in mass stabbing at Sydney shopping centre. Fox News, suspect among 6 dead in Australian stabbing spree. BBC, 6 dead and baby in surgery after multiple stabbings. Bangkok Post, 7 dead after Sydney mall stabbing spree. The reason it made the world news is because Australia is internationally seen as a safe country, except for those pesky redbacks and taipans, but otherwise free from incidents of mass violence. So this mass stabbing broke the mould. If the same thing happened in, say, Somalia, you'd be lucky to hear anything about it. Although, interestingly, Somali refugee families are sending their sons back to Africa to escape out-of-control knife crime in the UK. Of course, regarding the Sydney stabbing, online commentators were quick to point the finger without knowing all the details. One side was blaming radical Islamists or jihadists for the attack, which I found a bit unlikely in that these groups would typically proudly and publicly claim responsibility for such attacks, which didn't happen in this case. The other side was blaming Jewish extremists, even going so far as to naming a particular individual, an innocent Jewish university student, Benjamin Cohen, based entirely on his slight resemblance to a grainy mobile phone image, despite him being 20 years the man's junior. Benjamin Cohen was falsely accused of the Bondi Junction stabbings. Here's how the lie spread around the world. As it turns out, both sides were wrong. It wasn't an Islamist or a pro-Israeli Zionist. It was an Aussie English tutor from Queensland who liked surfing and who was diagnosed with schizophrenia more than 20 years ago and was off his medication at the time of the stabbings. Look, I don't think humans have got any worse over the years. Go back 50 years and I'm sure there were people spreading similar types of rumours and gossip, but this was typically limited to their circle of friends. Fast forward to the modern world, and now you can spread the same rumours and gossip to your 5 million followers. As we saw, things can rapidly get out of hand. My strategy is pretty simple. If I don't know for sure, I'll typically refrain from saying it. Although we all make mistakes, I'm sure, especially in these breaking news environments where the facts have not yet emerged. Although, to be fair to some of these online commentators, Channel 7 were reporting that Mr. Cohen was the perpetrator, but have since issued an apology. It should also be noted that despite the police knowing the identity of the perpetrator, they delayed the release of that information for whatever reason, perhaps to be 100% certain, allowing online rumours to spread over a 14-hour period. During that time, Mr. Cohen was one of the most reviled men on the internet. He told the ABC, "It's extremely disappointing to see thousands of people mindlessly propagating misinformation without even the slightest thought put to fact-checking or real-life consequences, and then using that information to push an agenda and spread hatred." New South Wales Police Inspector Amy Scott was the one that ran towards danger and shot and killed the perpetrator. She's been labelled a hero in the media, which I'm not going to disagree with. But to be fair, the job of a police officer, no, their sworn duty, is to protect the public without fear or favour. So she did exactly what society expected of her and what she swore to do when she became a police officer. It should also be noted that she was the only one armed that day, apart from the perpetrator, so was in the best position to deal with an active killer. As many of you would know, it is illegal for Australians to carry weapons in a defensive capacity. Guns, knives, even pepper spray are all outlawed. Consequently, we have individuals using environmental weapons or improvised weapons, such as Bollard Man, who bravely held the attacker at bay using a shopping centre bollard. The Australian government obviously appreciated him using a weapon, even if it's only an improvised one, because they have since offered the French national permanent residency for his extraordinary bravery. Despite the horror that unfolded in Sydney, it was not labelled a terrorist incident by police. It's funny how we define these words. From a layman's perspective, I would define terrorism as the act of causing terror, which certainly happened during this stabbing spree, but the official definition is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. The fact that the perpetrator didn't have any political aims, it didn't matter how many people he killed. It was never going to be considered terrorism by the powers that be. On the other hand, just days later, a second knife attack occurred in Sydney in an Assyrian church, which was labelled an act of terrorism, despite nobody dying. A 16-year-old entered the church and rushed forward to stab the popular Bishop Mari Emmanuel, who was presiding over the service. The shocking events were captured on the church's video stream. The bishop gained a significant online following during 2020 as an outspoken opponent of lockdowns and so on. The Conversation ran a piece asking, "Why is the Sydney church stabbing an act of terrorism, but the Bondi tragedy isn't?" Basically, we answered it before. The Bondi killer was not motivated by a larger political cause. He was just mentally unwell. Whereas the church attacker, although he acted alone, was very likely to have received encouragement and backing from a terrorist organisation. And now it's being reported that the attacker received a good behaviour bond for a previous knife crime earlier this year. It seems like we don't like locking up violent offenders here in Australia. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you for watching.